with the human trafficking. This week, or it's been ongoing now, I think, for the last few weeks, this human trafficking case in Liberia, where a group of people were thought to be trafficking about 50 plus people into Monrovia. I want us to take a step back a little bit and understand what this truly means. Human trafficking, it's not a light crime, it's not a light event, it's not a light situation. It's actually quite common and is quite gross. There has been numerous not just studies but reports from our international partners, such as the United States State Department and other international partners, indicating how terrible human trafficking is in Liberia. And so to just understand human trafficking a little bit, right, it's not just taking people from one area and transporting them to another. Human trafficking is sex trafficking. Human trafficking is labor trafficking. So you take someone's child and you say, oh, I'm going to send your child to school. Let your child come stay with me. And by the time you know it, the child is moved to Monrovia or in a different location, and that child is subjected to hard labor. Human trafficking is forced marriage, forcing a child or a female into a situation without her consent, especially with her consent being removed. Human trafficking is forced begging, so where you drive around and you see a lot of children on the street begging, and you wonder, why would anyone allow their child or their children to go begging on a very basic traffic highway or on the streets? You rarely connect the dot to human trafficking. But what has been uncovered in a lot of studies is that most of those children are being trafficked. Most of them are being trafficked. And one other thing that it's rarely connected to human trafficking, but is very, very important to understand, is that human trafficking is related to organs harvesting. So while some children or people or human beings are trafficked for slave labor, some are trafficked for sex, some are trafficked for hardcore labor, some are trafficked for domestic servitude, some are trafficked for begging, as we covered. Some are trafficked to be murdered. Some are trafficked to be slaughtered, where their organs can be harvested, from their hearts to their livers, the list goes on. This is the actual reality of human trafficking. And that's why this case, or this new revelation, it's so important. And most importantly, what the judicial is, or how the judicial is going to continue to prosecute these people. We know that often with cases such as these, we see a big show happening around it. It goes to court. They attempt to prosecute them. I'm going to say that because they don't often serve the full term of their prison sentences. Sometimes they even don't make it to the prison. So to have our judicial system attempt at correcting these actions is going to be very important. If it's all just for performance and for show, it is going to be detrimental to Liberia's moral or morality, right? That moral high ground that we often claim as a society is going to erode, or is fastly eroding. I want to just paint the picture a little bit more here for you. In Africa, let me do this. Yeah, in Africa, so the State Department actually puts Liberia here as a tier 2, right? A tier 2 watch list. If you look at this, what that means of all these countries in Africa, right? Here is Liberia here, this very tiny country here that is at a tier 2. That means it's problematic. It is absolutely problematic. And human trafficking is a real thing in Liberia. It is not, we're far from a tier 1 and certainly not a special case like Somalia, but we are fastly approaching those numbers, and it's very concerning. So to make an attempt at, highlighting this case of 50 some people, it's important. But there are bigger problems, right? We are trafficking a lot more people than 57 people. And therefore, we need to get serious, very, very serious about addressing trafficking in Liberia. It is a gruesome crime committed against humanity. In fact, about 70+% of the people who are trafficked, 70+% of the people who are trafficked are women and children. Women and children, 70+%. I want to, and something else you have to understand, trafficking doesn't just happen locally. Trafficking is happening currently in Liberia, where, this was in a Canadian scheme, that there are girls and women being lured into the Middle East. There are girls and women being lured into other parts of Africa. I want to share a video here with you. It's heartbreaking, so I'm warning, if you have a light heart, this is not for you. You might want to step away from your computer or your screen, because this is quite heartbreaking. It is graphic, so prepare yourself. Before I put the video up, I also want to mention that in Act Organized, which is a crime index, also did a report on Liberia trafficking and suggested that the gateway for trafficking in Liberia is the Ganta border and RIA. So girls thinking, I'm traveling to Ghana, I'm traveling to, I'm traveling out of the country. I'm going for work, I'm going for this. Yeah, like I found a job online where they said they will pay me $1,000. What type of job pays someone $1,000 without any type of skill set or without any type of academic credentials? The signs are just so clear. And this is partly frustrating. It is sad because it's such a huge humanitarian issue or humanity issue, but it's also very frustrating. Let me go ahead and play the a video for you, and then it's about 4+ minutes, and I said it's very graphic, so brace yourself. If you have a light stomach, don't watch it. It's hard to watch, but it's a must watch. As you know, here on Uncensored, we are exactly that. We are uncensored because it's really important to educate the public and have them understand the levels at which these crimes are committed against the people or against the most vulnerable, right? So seeing is always believing, and I'm not here to censor your eyes. So you can censor your own eyes if it's too graphic for you, but it's really important that we show it. So here you go.
Good evening, good afternoon. My name is Antoinette Fale from Africa, to be precise, Liberia. We all are gathered here. We are all Africans from Liberia. We were sent here by some unknown guys who call themselves agency. They lied to us that we're going to come here to go to school and work and be on our own. But we never knew that it was all about this human trafficking issue they poured into it. Now, they convinced us, we came here, we arrived at the airport. The first thing, they took our passports from us. They took our passports from us. They told us that agents, they would come to pick us at the airport, which of course, all was lies. Only those who were supposed to work for in their houses was those groups that came for us to the airport, and they took us to our very destination. It almost like you kidnap people, you put them in car, you carry them, dropping them. Almost like for mutual, you drive John to her position, you drive Peter to her position. It was looking there, but we were arrived at the capital city. Some people went 6-hour drive away from the capital city. Some people go to the bush. They carry some people to the villages. For me, I was far all the way to Dala, Bena, Bali, there where I was. All the way in the desert. They started treating us when we got there. The first thing, after the first month, and there's someone always started getting 80 riyal in their money, which is 200 per month. When I asked why you're giving me 80 riyal, which is 200 in US, why? Because the person that sent me told me that I was going to be making more than that. We'll be making an $800 or $1,000 US. You said your agent lied to you. The person lied to you. We supposed to give you 200 and we pay money. We pay 2,500, which is every one of us. Some people said that the boss said they pay 4,000. They buy us. They pay money. So before they gave our document, it will be 2 years. Just imagine. I think it was 6 living rooms, 6 bathrooms, the kitchen part. I'm not even talking about it. And all these things are living. I can clean it every morning, day and night. I will even sleep to a good air. We don't even eat on time. We start work 4 o'clock in the morning. Some people 3 o'clock. Before we go to bed, 12 in the night, 1 in the night. The situation is too complicated for us right now, and we don't even know how to handle it. Some of us said they even attempt raping or they rape some of our friends. Beat on some of our friends, break their hand, break their finger, injecting, and they can even receive. Some of our friends are swelling up. Some of our friends don't even know their location. We managed to escape.
I see the arrow was sleeping. I see him in my hand. I see the arrow that was sleeping. See the arrow. See the arrow was sleeping. I am my hand. The arrow was sleeping. I see our arrow. One of our friends, Sarah, they stayed here. Let's see what she say. And Aaron was sleeping. And Aaron.
So as you can see, after we escaped and we came in to a safe house, we got a church. The Filipinos, they were helping us here.
So, I just wanted to come out of that for a little bit, because as I said, this is quite heartbreaking to see young girls being subjected to this level of harm, being treated worse than animals, being lured into these situations. It is heartbreaking. I mean, that's not even sufficient of a word, but that's the only one I can muster right now. It's quite hard for me to even have this conversation, but as I said, it's so important for us to have it. So when we discuss human trafficking, we talk about human trafficking. It's not just this performative event where you have men in orange jumpsuits parading, where the justice system is parading them around and pretending like they're actually addressing this issue of human trafficking. The society needs to see the other side of this, right? And that's what I just showed you. They need to see to what extent these human beings are being subjected to heinous crimes, from rape, of course. I think that's just on like the better end, to being burned with hot water, to being killed, to being murdered. So it's not enough. It's not enough to just parade a few men around. And when you, as has been suspected, these people are just the Wheelbarrow Boys. Where are the kingpins? Because we know these are not, right? These are not the kingpins. These are not their bosses that they're parading around. But they attempt to do that to fool the public into thinking that, oh, we're actually doing something about this and we actually care about this. No, you don't. You don't care about this. As I mentioned, there has the U.S. State Department published a report that indicates that Liberia is not addressing human trafficking at the level of which it should be addressing it. And when I find the screenshot here, I will absolutely share with you. Right? I also want to bring to the screen here, this is Dr. Levitt. Dr. Levitt was hired or brought on by Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I know when I talk about her, most people wonder, well, why are you so fixated on her? I'm not. I need you to understand and he's going to highlight that. The election of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was beyond revolutionary. It was a defining moment for women everywhere in the world. We fondly thought we are going to support this woman to excel in this position when she does. She's going to not only create policies or not only influence policies to alleviate the burdens of women and the suffering of women. She's going to make it a priority. Instead, we saw the opposite of that. And that's why it's so important to continue to highlight this. If a woman leader, such as herself, who had all the resources, there was nothing that Ellen would ask for she would not be given, to not be able to institute, structure, systems that protect women, especially for such a small country as Liberia. And we continue to see these problems specifically targeting women, right? You talk about 70+%. It's a big failure. It's beyond a big failure on her part. But I'm going to let Dr. Levitt speak about it, and then we'll respond or continue from there.
It's such an important question, because I don't know of another country where 70% of the women suffered from sexual gender-based violence on the planet. And I think the global response to it has been poor, because we saw the response to women victims in the former Yugoslavia. I do think, and I was appointed by Ellen to be the international technical advisor over the Liberian Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and some of the things that we talked about today, I was directly involved with drafting those. I think one of the great failures of her administration was not addressing this issue. She was symbolic in so many ways, which was empowering, not unlike at the same period of time Barack Obama was symbolic and empowering in some ways. But when it came to the practical realities of holding persons accountable for crimes during the various episodes of civil conflict, I think the government failed. I think the government failed women in particular.
Okay, so that's I mean, it's not just what Fanta Kamara say, right? It's evident, and so many people know this. And it's really unfortunate. This was the report by the State Department I was referencing, right? Where This is from 2025, where we're confirming that Liberia is a tier 2 watch list when it comes to human trafficking. And I just want to read a little bit here of what this says. The government of Liberia does not fully meet the minimum standards for the elimination of trafficking. Despite making significant efforts to do so, it did not demonstrate overall increase in efforts compared with the previous reporting period, 2024, 2023, etc. Therefore, Liberia remained on the tier 2 watch list for the second consecutive year. Significant efforts included investigating government officials for alleged complicity in human trafficking. The government slightly increased investigations and prosecutions. However, the government did not convict any traffickers for the second consecutive year, and law enforcement officials and prosecutors continue to lack adequate resources and understanding of trafficking to effectively investigate and prosecute trafficking crimes. The government did not report if it identified any trafficking victims. Victim services remain insufficient, and some government shelters were largely inadequate. I encourage you to go and take a look fully at that report. It is quite astounding. So when we see this performance happening, we have to continue to ask, what's going to be the end result of that? Is it just going to be, we parade them in orange jumpsuits, 2 seconds later, when the public forgets about it, we're going to release them? Well, you be the judge of all of this. I want to just quickly here, and if we move on to our next topic, encourage we the people, to continue to hold our leaders accountable when it comes to these issues, especially those affecting our humanity. 1 in every 3 children are trafficked. There are over 30 million people around the world who are trafficked. Trafficking doesn't always have to look like what you have been told. It comes in many different forms, and we have to pay attention to it, which is why I want to, again, go over some of these so you can fully understand and be educated. That's the whole purpose of this show, right? It's for us to learn together. It's for us to grow together, because the more informed we are, the better decisions we're able to make. So I was able to put together a human trafficking word map here. And it's going to go over like the types of trafficking, as I mentioned earlier, which I've already covered, and then actions by trafficker, what to look for, or like what they do. They recruit you, they will come to you and say, oh, let me take your child. And so they engage in this active recruitment. That is certainly a telltale sign. Pay attention for that. They will offer, of course, transportation, the harbor they control, and they do all of this to exploit. Common signs of people being trafficked, right? What to look for, because sometimes we live in a community where people are being trafficked, but we don't know because we don't pay attention. So look for fear and intimidation, which is what they will impose on those people. And we can also look to see, well, why is he scaring her so much? Why is he yelling at her so much? Why, right? Why are they subjecting this person to such fear? That is a sign. They will restrict their movement, right? They don't pay them often for work that they do. They're unable to speak freely. They're living and working under supervision constantly. In other countries where technology is more advanced, they're under constant camera or surveillance, right? 24/7, they're being surveilled. And what law enforcement can really do? Because often they think it requires astronomical interventions. Well, it doesn't. You only need to create like hotlines. Law enforcement needs to be more engaged. Victim services needs to be enhanced. It's not enough to say we only have 2 safe houses for victims, and the house full, we can't bring anybody else though. I know that the victims that we found here, where are we going to take them? Why are we constantly having these discussions when it's so easy? It doesn't take much to put up a few buildings, or even leverage the amount of unused buildings that are around Liberia. Why can we not enhance victim services? If we're truly serious about human trafficking, we need to have legal support. There needs to be a legal team dedicated to prosecuting human traffickers, and the community needs to be educated. This is part of what I'm doing here, is educating all of us to understand what this truly is, right? And how does control happens? Someone said, well, how do I even know? Well, as I mentioned, right, in addition to the fear, the common signs, you have threats, violence happens to that person, debt bondage, and often will confiscate their IDs or their passports. So for the girls who do travel to Oman and travel to Kuwait and travel to Ghana and travel to Nigeria and travel to Guinea and travel to Sierra Leone, they take their passports from them. They take their IDs from them. If you don't have a way of being identified, it's easier for them to control you. And this is what they do. The first thing that they do, they isolate you and constantly deceive you and your families. When your family asks, oh yeah, is my child going to school? They say, yeah, they are going to school. What grade is she in? It's constant deception. Right? And who do they target? Vulnerable people who run away. And the impact, as we have just seen, is quite gross. It's gross because often it's physical harm that these people are being subjected to. So it's important that you share this show, share this message with your community, your friends, your children. Let's not wait for something else to happen before we contribute or lend our voice. Let's be active participants in the affairs of our nations, our community.